Welcome class to week 5, chapter 8, improving corporate processes, products, and projects for corporate sustainability. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm going to be going through the key topics for this chapter. The topics that we are going to cover within this chapter are organizational learning, life cycle analysis, redesigning products and processes, rethinking markets, including bottom of the pyramid, integrating sustainability in the supply chain, and internal reporting. There's a lot of information to cover, so let's get started. The first topic that we're going to cover is organizational learning, the new battleground. A company's knowledge, assets, or core capabilities are embodied within 4 dimensions that were outlined in the text: skills and knowledge, physical technical systems, managerial systems, and value and norms. Organizations must develop learning mechanisms to develop and maintain capabilities that will meet present and future challenges of social and environmental management. Within skills and knowledge, the employee expertise and qualifications are important. The next topic, physical technical systems, this really focuses on the hard data collected over time. Examples could be databases, software, or machinery. Managerial systems. This is the organization's accumulation of knowledge by surveys, evaluation, and reporting. How do they collect their data that they use to share? And last, value and norms. Effectively communicating knowledge, value, and norms inspires employees to contribute and support the organization. Within organizational learning, there are 2 different types of learning that occurs. Single-loop learning occurs when a member of an organization makes corrections to errors to maintain the features, strategy, or cultures already in place. Whereas double-loop learning is assumptions and strategies that may be challenged and changed. Feedback is used to question the basic assumptions about the strategy and whether it remains viable. This is an important fact to remember. The next aspect of organizational learning is the plan, do, check, and act policy. The first section, plan, is really about preparing yourself for the future, setting objectives and targets. This will guide the organization through their accomplishments. They should focus on the company's current impacts and profile. They need to be focused on future and social and environmental performance, set goals, and establish an implementation plan. Next is do. Develop structure, product training, introduce programs. This may vary considerably according to the different type of program that's being introduced, but products, processes, and managerial system modifications may be used to achieve these objectives. Next, check. How do you do an internal audit? How do you understand or measure the performance in which your firm is done? The purpose of this as a phase is to organize assets in the situation against the plan. Tools and procedures are required to ensure proper feedback and corrective capabilities. And then the last is act, management review. Address the effectiveness and the sustainability systems and possible needs for changes to the policies, objectives, and targets, and other elements. Now we'll look at how to improve sustainability performance. The first would be communicating to all the employees the importance of social and environmental performance to the corporation, but also to their individual welfare and to their jobs. Corresponding, the message should include the identification of the stakeholders, employees, suppliers, customers, community, etc., that all are affected. In order to achieve the goals of implementing the system and maximizing financial performance, you can start with a mission statement and then define the strategy after that. To implement the strategy, companies define performance measures and tie it to incentives to reward these performance measures. I think the biggest piece here is that we have to start with communication to get the message out to the employees. How do you go about reducing social and environmental impacts? The text this week outlines 5 different ways. The first being redesigning the product. If you were to look to redesign a product, this often leads simultaneously to sustainability and financial benefits to the business. Another way, instead of redesigning a product, would be to reduce the packaging or cut down on the environmental impact of the packaging contents. Next, you can look at re-engineering the process to reduce consumption, reduce pollution, and avoid risks. Processes and products determine the way in which waste and toxicity can be reduced. The third way would be to create more but use less. Fewer resources means producing less waste and pollution. The big process here is cradle to cradle, products that can be used for other things within their life cycle. Rethink the market. Gain competitive advantage over the competitor by differentiating the products and processes. This may reduce social and environmental cost or improve the benefits provided to the customer. The biggest thing here, I think, is that we're selling services, not just products. And lastly, a topic that was brought up in the last class, bottom of the pyramid. 2/3 of the world's population is at the bottom of the pyramid, which lives off $2 a day. This is an underserved market by many large organizations. Our organizations can seize the opportunity at the bottom of the pyramid, need to refocus their business models to include structure, systems, and strategies. The next aspect that we're going to look at is involving the supply chain. Minimize social and environmental impacts is to put pressure on the suppliers to reduce the negative impacts of the components of products or services they provide. Opportunities to stimulate markets for social and environmental sensitive products and materials. Many companies' reputation risk can be a factor when deciding on suppliers and contract facilities. So it's not just about the products in which you make, but it's about where your products are coming from. We are now going to look at 5 different ways that your company can improve the supply chain management. The first being written policies and communication. This establishes an environmental and social policy that the suppliers must follow. And many companies make it mandatory that they adhere to this program and that it's a requirement for doing business. Next is the questionnaire and written audits. This is used for new suppliers or existing suppliers. The audits are performed to ensure minimum standards are met, to ensure that they're upholding their side of the deal. The third aspect would be supplier meetings. This is where you can then open that communication and talk with the supplier to make sure that you're on the same page and that they're out there upholding their side of the bargain. The fourth aspect is training and technical assistance. Many companies have found that training the suppliers to develop social and environmental management systems is beneficial not only for them, but also the manufacturer. And then lastly, we are now going to look at 5 different ways that your company can improve the supply chain management. The first being written policies and communication. This establishes an environmental and social policy that the suppliers must follow. And many companies make it mandatory that they adhere to this program and that it's a requirement for doing business. Next is the questionnaire and audits. This is used for new suppliers or existing suppliers. The audits are performed to ensure minimum standards are met, to ensure that they're upholding their side of the deal. The third aspect would be supplier meetings. This is where you can then open that communication and talk with the supplier to make sure that you're on the same page and that they're up there upholding their side of the bargain. The fourth aspect is training and technical assistance. Many companies have found that training the suppliers to develop social and environmental management systems is beneficial not only for them, but also the manufacturer. And then lastly, collaborative research and development. So when suppliers are involved in the design, it helps with the innovation, socially and environmentally friendly products. Many of the companies that manufacture have inside knowledge or best practices that can help manufacture products easily and more efficiently. The last topic that we're going to cover is internal reporting. Internal reporting provides important feedback for effective decision-making and strategic planning. This also helps employees to see how their individual contributions add up to successful performance of the company. Reporting on sustainability outputs and outcomes should operate at multiple levels and should address the needs of a diverse audience. Each has its own specific needs. Although internal reports are aimed exclusively at an internal audience, there may also be an interested internal audience for some areas for external reporting, including corporate annual reports and sustainability reports. Once you've created an internal sustainability report, you need to look at the content in which is provided to see if it's going to be beneficial to the business. First, you need to set and report on targets. Previous plans or goals should be disclosed, clear, concise delivery of the information so that the audience can understand the impact of the new data. You need to also demonstrate accountability. Show where the accountability lies may be specifically important to the board or executive management. You should make recommendations. Recommendations should be precise, business-focused, and pragmatic so that people feel sufficiently informed from the sustainability report. Next, you need to provide different types of data, qualitative and also quantitative, or other tools and scenarios to relate that information to the user. You should also look to include metrics. Explain your data in sufficient detail, ensuring that all of the information is there. And last, you should explain the content. The context of the report impacts both appropriately explained. Many might react to the information without knowing the context, but their reaction will then be inappropriate. Now, just to recap, we did cover the organizational learning, life cycle analysis, redesigning products and processes, rethinking markets, including the bottom of the pyramid, integrating sustainability in the supply chain, and also internal reporting. Do not underestimate the importance of underlying learning process associated with the social and environmental impacts. Environmental and social impacts are an important dimension of the company to define in order to be sustainable. In order to ensure that I've done my job, I've put together a quick Chapter 8 review in 5 questions. I would ask that you write your answers on a small sheet of paper and correlate those answers with the answers at the end of the presentation. Thanks. The first question is, which of the following examples is not involved in the supply chain? The second question is reducing waste and pollution important when reducing social and environmental impacts? The third question is, when improving sustainability performance, what stakeholders are involved? The fourth question is, what steps were given to you in this presentation for organizational learning? And the last question is the single loop learning assumptions and strategies? Hopefully you marked down your answers, and we can now look at the answers to follow. The answers for this quick quiz are on the slide. Please post in the forum this week how successful you were or areas in which I might be able to improve upon. Thank you again for taking a couple moments out of your night in order to watch this presentation on Chapter 8. Please post any questions, concerns, or suggestions that you might have for my presentation or the content in which I was covering. Thanks.